Well, another training here for you. So, tis the season for expired listings. So, I'm gonna hammer home some points on expireds. January 1st is the biggest day of the year for expired listings. All of those overpriced listings, all of those false promises made, all of that lack of motivation, it comes to a head right now, right? That listing that was taken at 700,000 that really only comped out at 500 for some reason. Man, I don't know why that happens, but it happens. And so we're just gonna. What happens oftentimes is at some point the seller gets the point. Their house is not selling for that price. It likely shouldn't have been taken at that price, but we all have an overpriced listing or two. Sometimes we mean it, and sometimes we're desperate. But the fact of the matter is that there's a lot of people out there that need our help, and sometimes they need a change of venue, right? So let's just talk about how we do that. I built my business on expired listings and for sale by owners. That's how I built my business. I didn't know anybody out there, and really all it took was just a frank conversation, a truthful conversation with the seller about what it was actually worth, or a different marketing plan. But most of the time, it's price. We can all get super egotistical about it, but most of the time it's price if we're honest, right? Now, crappy photos, throw up a sign, disappear for 6 months, those kinds of things can cause a house to sell. There's been a lot where I listed for the same price or sometimes a little bit more, and it sells for the seller. So yeah, marketing matters, but best marketing in the world isn't going to sell a massively overpriced house. So all right, so what we do every day when we get to work, no exceptions, is we pull up how many there are, right? And so we have a system where we just log in. Our staff has been there for hours and hours and hours and hours, getting that ready for our agents, just saving them. Man, when I had to do this by myself, it's probably why I have so much gray hair, because I'm definitely, show me, there's no spreadsheet in the world I like. But, pulling all those numbers and stuff for freaking hours, I just praise God I don't have to do that anymore. I praise my admin, really. They spend so much time doing that. So here's the thing. What up, Jake? What you doing, man? It's good talking to you today. At least I got one viewer on here, so man, my ego. I mean, my head's just expanding right now. I got one person listening, but anyway. But look, the number one thing that we have to keep in mind is that people matter, right? It matters that we help them sell their house if they still want to do that, and will be realistic in the process. All right. The number one reason I was thinking, rarely I do that. I usually just speak. But one of the things that I was thinking about is like, why don't more real estate agents call expireds? Now I'm totally okay with that because I like to be the one to get those. But like, why don't they? And I think it's because they think that they're bothering someone, and I can tell you that you're not. I really think they don't know what to say, which is crazy because we're like, well, here's a script and here's what to say, and maybe go learn how to say it. And they're like, no, I'm not going to role play that. We have this really cool technology called Coach AI, and I ask our agents to do 3 to 5 sessions, and you can just role play with AI, role play with the computer, and it talks right back to you. And it's not perfect, but it's really, really good. And sometimes you have to wait 20 or 30 seconds for the response, which is kind of super awkward. But awkward is sometimes how it is. Listen, it's just like anything in life. It's doing the hard things, right? It's doing the hard things, doing the things that are uncomfortable. So look, if you keep in mind that you're helping that person actually get their house sell, and you do not need and should not bash the last agent, right? Or any agent ever. If you have to make someone else look bad to make yourself look good, not only are you an asshole, okay, sorry, but it's just highly unethical. You do not have to speak down about another human to make yourself feel good. If you do, you got issues. So I could refer you to a few doctors. But anyway, okay. So I digress. But the fact is you should start to call these, and you should become comfortable before you do. However, you don't want to sit there on a hamster wheel, analysis paralysis, and never ever call them. Okay. Again, nowhere in this script that you should practice before you start calling them, maybe for 10 or 15 minutes before the calls, and then get into massive action. we want our agents to speak to 3 to 5 of these a day. Listen, the phone numbers are right there, linear. They just have to dial, right? Nobody has ever died from a prospecting call. I'm just saying, like, I've never had someone die. I've never died. My first 3-4 years, I'm speaking to 5,500 people a year. I'm alive, and I'm getting better as I get older. Less fat, that's for sure. But look, the first question you should ask is just, good morning, I was looking for. Now you got to make sure they're not withdrawn. You got to make sure that they're not active and they haven't been relisted. Your job is to check that. Good morning, I was looking for Bob. Hey Bob, Jason with Rise Real Estate. I was calling because your house showed up as an expired listing and I was just wondering, is it still available or did you get that sold? Well, Jason, it's we're going to take it off the market until the spring. Yeah, Bob, I completely understand that and I hear that a lot. So question, if I could show you a way to sell it for more money now versus waiting till the spring when a lot more houses are on the market, would that be worth 15 minutes of your time? Now, is that a real salesy question? Like, does that give you heart palpitations? I don't know. I really believe that there's 200 for sale and there's going to be 400, that there's a greater likelihood of more showings, more competing offers when there's less inventory. I'm not fibbing to the guy. So, or gal or whoever answers the phone. So I asked that client, well, oh my gosh, you don't wait, 6 minutes to ask if you can come over? No, I do not. Because if I get to the bottom of all of this and I'm just having a human conversation with them and I glance at this so that I don't get stuck, if I wait till the very end to ask for an appointment, where do I go after that? Right? So you try to interject or put in, asking to come over to see if you can't help these great humans. Okay? Because I'm just sitting here scratching my head, Bob, and wondering why it didn't sell. I mean, what are your thoughts? Do not take the low road here and bash the agent. Figure out what happened. A lot of times you're going to say, I just made the agent overprice it. Okay, great. So you're flexible on your price. Okay. Is there any, room for movement there? And then you're just really trying to find out what they're doing next. Like, so Bob, where are you headed off to? Why is that important? Is that a business move? Is it personal? Going down there for family, going down there for work. I mean, this is where you need to be a good human and you need to figure out why they were originally thinking about selling their house. So Bob, Jason, we're not going to do it. Bob, I understand. Bob, when you originally started to do this, okay, you originally tried to sell your house. What were your thoughts? Like, where were you headed off to next? Well, we were going to go move down the Bitterroot Valley. Well, why were you going to, what's important about the Bitterroot? Well, they have naps down there, and you can get a burger meal down there for like $20 and it's like the best thing you've ever eaten. Of course, I can't eat that or the fries, the amazing fries that come with that at this point in my life. But okay, great. So you were going down there to get closer to a great restaurant. Well, that's fantastic. I mean, that sounds like a perfectly reasonable reason. So anyways, you're just building rapport there, right? But you don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, right? Because you're not trying to be on the phone for an hour and a half. No, so Bob, home would have sold where you're going down the Bitterroot. Okay, great. What was the reason for the move? Okay, now you're figuring it out. How soon did you have to be there, like in a perfect world? Like, are these like real salesy questions? Like, should we not know what their timing is? Should we not know why they're moving? Like, does that not actually matter? I mean, how is that like a weird question to ask? I don't get it. I don't get why this is so difficult. But listen, Bob, if you would have gotten an offer last week for full price, would you have accepted it? And 90% of the time right there, they're going to say yes. It's a very powerful question. So that's when you can say, well, fantastic. Well, if I can show you how to get an offer in the next week or two, and look, if you price a house right now, you're going to. Well, how are you going to guarantee that? Is what most agents watching this call. The sellers won't say that, but the agents will. Why? Because you don't want to call expireds. They're going to come up with every reason why not to do it. And then when someone does it and takes a lot of listings, you're going to get mad at them and you're going to get jealous. You know why they're taking a lot more listings than you? Because they're doing stuff you won't do. It's just a fact. So we're trying to make you stronger agents. It's what I always try to do. Look, if I could show you a way to sell it in the next 30 days at a price that would work for you, or if I could sell it for you in the next week or two at a price that would work for you, would that be worth 10 or 15 minutes of your time? That's not shady to ask someone. You got to ask them before you come over, right? Can't just show up at their house. Walk in there, listing presentation, briefcase, 2 or 3 pens, sign, camera, and they haven't even invited you over. You're probably in Montana, you probably get shot. So when your house was on the market before, what do you think? So if they're not giving you the appointment yet, When your house was on the market before, what do you think stopped it from selling? Or, you know, in your opinion, why didn't it sell? Lots of different ways you can ask this question. Is there something that you feel like you should have gotten that you didn't? How many showings did you have? How many offers did you have? What was the feedback from the offers? Okay. Um, was any of the feedback price related? It was another great question. Okay. So again, you could do another close here. You could continue building rapport. I'm always just like, go for the close, right? Because we're trying to help this person. So it looks like you're still interested in selling. It sounds like you don't want to give your house away. I understand that. And I'm sure you're wondering, like most expired listings, A, why your home didn't sell, and B, what it would take to get it sold, right? And they're going to go, well, yeah. They all wonder that, like, why didn't this thing sell? And if they haven't come clean about the price up until that point, they really do want to know. Great. So I can just, we can just sit and visit on those two things if you'd like. Provide some clarity for you. I've got 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock available this afternoon. Which works best for you? What kind of marketing did you receive in the house? Was there a bunch of open houses? Did they do anything digital? Did other people know about it? Like, and you can always tell the price is right or the marketing is right by the amount of showings, unless you have to like parachute into the house. And that's really it. I mean, if they're not giving it to you there or letting you come over, you could just bail at that point in time and just say, well, it sounds like this is, really is something you're going to be doing in the spring, although you may, make less. Would it be okay if I just sent you some comps periodically every week or two? I just kind of kept you up what was going on in the market, and we just touch base after the first of the year. Okay, that'd be kind of weird because that's in like 2 days. But you could say like, February or March or whatever, and just call them every week or two and just check in. Because sometimes things change, right? Another close could be, if I could show you a way to net more money now versus waiting. If I could, trade you tens of thousands of dollars for 10 or 15 minutes of your time, would that be worth 5 or 10 minutes? And again, they're just going to say yes or no. You'll find that the people who are super resistant are, I would say, not motivated. And if they're not motivated, do you want to work with them anyway? Do non-motivated people actually list houses at the right price? They don't. So the top objections you get here, I'm getting lots of calls. We already went over a close for that. You can say, well, we can make this the last call you ever get. Just have me over and we'll sell your house. Adding a little humor in never hurt. Would you accepted a full offer last week if you would have got it? What if I can help you in the next couple of weeks? That's something I already said. I want to list with the same agent's a big one. And, before you get into another contract with an agent who didn't sell your house before, or wouldn't it be worth 10 or 15 minutes of your time just to get a second opinion and make sure you do your due diligence? Has there ever been a time that you felt like your last agent didn't do what all they could to sell your home? That's not bashing them. That's just asking a question. You didn't say your agent sucked. Okay. What do you think they're going to do this differently this time around that they didn't do last time? So these are just some really good ways. But you know what? Even if you had no script, even if you had no objection handlers, I don't know that that's wise. But just making the calls, it just helps. So I hope you have a really good day. Happy New Year. Take care.